You're listening to a Whales Are Whales production.
You're also listening to Whales.
Visit whalesorewhales.com for more projects and shows like this one.
Greetings.
Hello, welcome to Hearthaholics, a Hearthstone strategy podcast about sitting back, chatting with friends, and figuring out how to be more awesome at this game. We are instituting a new thing this week, which we will be doing our flavor text of the week at the beginning of the episode, and then at the end of the episode, everyone but me will try to guess what that flavor text was from. This week's flavor text is "The best offense is a good defense." And while you chew on that for the next hour and change, I will introduce our panelists. I'm your host, Bryan, and joining me today is Billy. Hello, Billy.
Hi, Bryan.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited to talk about new cards because new cards are cool.
This is our first episode since the Grand Tournament released. The apocalypse has come. Demons are in the streets. Everything is on fire. But we don't really care because Hearthstone's really interesting right now.
Absolutely.
Andres, unfortunately, is not here. He is being brave and battling said demons with his flaming sword of righteousness. And I appreciate the sacrifice, but I'd really like to be able to play some Hearthstone with him. So,
are you sure he's battling them with a flaming sword? I would like to imagine that a person like Andres is battling them with totems and conjuring spells and.
Well, he did that, but after he had to cut the Valiant from his deck, it hasn't been as effective anymore. So he went back to the flaming sword.
Okay, that makes more sense.
He was really hot on Mistcaller there for a while. It was doing a lot for him, but. I don't know. It seemed a little slow against the Demon Onslaught, so...
That has way too many similarities with Hearthstone for it to not be Hearthstone.
You'd be surprised. Honestly, by far the worst part of this whole demon invasion has been the demonic dreadsteeds, because they literally never go away. So if you end up with like a dreadsteed in your house, then you're pretty much just gonna have to live with it.
Yeah, I mean, you would just have to put up with this never-ending dreadsteed.
Just like
maybe
a flaming
you could tame
horse.
it. Maybe you could make it your pet, and then you would have a never-ending dreadsteed.
You know, I might actually try this next time, but we'll have to see how that goes. So, how have you been doing in Hearthstone, Billy?
Been doing well. I've been mainly trying to play Druid because Druid's been a lot of fun, and this morning I decided to scum it up because there's very little time left in the month for the season, and I want the super awesome reward for being rank 5. So in the matter of an hour, I took myself from rank 9 to rank 5 with Face Hunter, because...
That is impressive.
Right? Turns out Face Hunter is really good when everyone's playing extremely slow, greedy decks with their brand new cards and trying to have fun. And you just want to ruin their fun and get to rank 5. But now that I'm at rank 5 and I've been to rank 5, I'm having fun with a control dragon rogue. Hey.
I tried to do the same thing of like, I'll get through these last ranks from 3 to legend with Zulok. But it turns out everyone at 3 to legend doesn't care that new cards exist and just play really good decks really well anyway. So that didn't go so well for me, but yeah. I guess instead I went down to 4, where things are at least a little bit easier.
The way I see it now with the new reward system, every single month from here on out for me is just going to be have fun until there's 5 days left in the season, then Face Hunter to 5, and then continue to have fun.
You're just not even going to attempt the legend climb.
Yeah, I think I've given up on that train. I think that for me, at least, I get way more fun out of the game trying silly, crazy things than I do from trying to get to legend. It doesn't satisfy me too much. And
right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, it's all different styles of play. I think I really enjoy analyzing the meta and figuring out how I can be best in it and kind of learning about those decks, but not necessarily with the only goal of getting to legend with that knowledge. I just kind of enjoy participating in that game and learning from all the people who are crafting those really well-honed decks. But yeah, if you're fixated only on the whole getting to legend, they can get pretty frustrating pretty quick.
Yeah. I was like that month where I did try to go for Legend. I just wasn't enjoying the game at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What were you playing that month? I don't quite remember which month that was.
I think I started off with... That was last month. I think I started off with Zoo, and then switched to mid-range Paladin, and then Zoo again, and then something else. It wasn't very fun.
So what do you not like about it? Do you just not like playing with existing decks? Do you not like the stress of focusing on that goal above all else?
It's weird, right? Because I've played in tournaments before, and it's not the stress of the game mattering, because I'm okay with playing in tournaments. In fact, I love that experience. It's a really enjoyable experience for me, even when I lose, because I learn from it. But I feel like with ladder, there's something there that I can't quite articulate that frustrates me. I don't know whether it's because every single game it can't be that, because like I said, I enjoy the tournament atmosphere. I don't know what it is.
Maybe it's just the quantity of games needed to get to your goal eventually wears you out over so many.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It feels like the games matter, but you need such a wide sample pool of games that you just have to be playing the same games over and over and over again with the same deck. And that's not as interesting or varied as like a tournament setting where each game is unique in its own way and matters in its own way. Ladder games can start to like all blend together, but you always have to be on point. So, yeah, it's a bit fatiguing in that sense.
There's also something to be said that, like, with tournaments, you can actually learn a lot more in the sense that, I should have known that, this person was going to bring this type of deck because this, and this reason. So I should have brought this card, which helps me against that deck. So there's more of a learning experience from that, where on ladder, you can run into anything.
I think I like using ladder as a tool instead of, I'm going to use the deck that's best to climb with it, and, the end goal being getting the legend. I think I prefer to, like, use ladder to hone and teach me different decks and aspects of the game, and if I happen to be doing well with that deck, I'm thus climbing good. But the goal to me is more rewarding to be about learning about the deck I'm playing and getting better at the game overall than getting my number up on the ladder. So maybe that's how I'll go about it going forward. Because it is a good way to hone decks, because most people are trying very hard. You're typically running against the type of decks you'd see in a tournament setting or something like that. So in that sense, it's good. But if you're just like, I don't care what deck I'm playing, I'm just going to play whatever is best and play it repeatedly to get up, that does get old pretty quickly, I think. So... Okay. Yeah, but fun decks, as you mentioned. What sorts of like goofy decks have you been playing since the cards have been released?
Well, I've been playing a lot of decks. Hobgoblin Paladin, like I said, a control rogue in particular is something that I've been really enjoying. And just like weird things with whatever cards I pull. Like I tried Gadget Sand Jouster in a deck, and that's not very good. But it was fun because it was
what kind of deck would you run that in?
I was trying it in the control rogue for a little bit, just because there's very little minions in the deck, because rogue is very focused on weapons and spells and all those other things, so the minions that are in the deck are very late game stuff, because like I said, it's like a control deck, so assumedly I should win most jousts, and I did, but even, like, it's not the type of deck that wants a 2-3 on turn 1 anyway, so it was just, I was just trying out the card, because it seemed interesting to me.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this deck could maybe use this effect. And then it's like, but even if I do get the effect, I don't even really need it. So, yeah. It'd be interesting if there were some, like, cards that were synergized by using jousts. You know, how, like, Inspire works, so, like, playing a dragon does something to another card. Like, if there was some card that got buffed by playing other joust cards, that would be kind of interesting.
That would be interesting.
But as is, they just seem like cards to toss into things that already have high mana curves. But I'm actually thinking through my head now, are there any Joust cards that have turned out to be really good that people are using a lot or that you like?
Tuskar Jouster is a card that's seeing a lot of play, but I don't think that should count because we're talking about a class card, so it should be better than everything else.
Oh, is that the one that heals you? That one seems pretty good.
That's the Paladin heal for 7 or 5 or something.
It was 7. 7 is correct. Yeah.
So that's seeing play. I did see a like heavy Ramp Druid deck that was running Master Jousters, which I thought was super cool. And he won both jousts. Unfortunately, I was still able to win that game, but that was a game where I was playing that control rogue I was talking about, and I was running Black Knight, so even those big taunts didn't matter because Black Knight's awesome.
Black Knight, Shadow Step, Black Knight. Best
well,
combo.
I'm not running Shadow Step because that takes up a deck slot, although that would have been awesome.
Yeah. I would have loved that so much. But yeah, it's fair enough. It made me wish all of a sudden that a new rat could be run in Warlock, because I would want to Shadow Flame him. That would be so much fun.
Especially because if Anubarak was to die, he's going to summon in the 4/4, and you could Shadow Flame that.
Well, wait a minute. What if you, as a rogue, burgle Shadow Flame, and then you can Shadow Flame your own Anubarak? There are possibilities here. But yeah, jousting seems interesting. I think a lot of the cards are difficult to fit in, especially low-cost joust cards like King's Elec, because it's like, you're running a low-cost card.
King's Elec is such an interesting card to me.
Yeah.
It's so counterintuitive, like, in so many different ways. First of all, you're running a joust card, so your deck should be kind of late-game oriented. It's a card draw card, which you don't need as much of in a control deck. It's a card that if it does draw you a card, it's going to draw you a late-game card, but it's an early drop. So it's so strange to me. I never understood that card, and I still don't understand that card. But it's certainly interesting.
That card is very much the elephant in the room when it comes to neutral hunter decks right now.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you. Okay, so I need you to... I actually want to go over like what legendaries we pulled, because I know everyone loves to compare, packs they open and how well they did, and start cursing at the game at how completely unfair it was to them and how they will quit, because they only got one legendary from 200 packs. By the way, if that happened, my condolences. So I feel like I'm right in the middle myself, where I'm not actively threatening to quit, but I don't feel super happy with my haul, which was I opened 80 packs, 50 from the pre-release and 30 with gold, and got 3 legendaries, and that was Ice Howl, Acid Maw, and Ronin. And I'm not sure I like any of them. But I want you to tell me, is there a potential use for Acid Maw I'm just overlooking?
Well, I've always been a defender of Acid Maw. I think Acid Maw's effect is really cool.
I agree.
I don't think he currently works. I want to see more cards like Colpet be added to the game. More like Beast Synergy discount cards, because a lot of the beasts are very overcosted.
This is
so
true.
I would love to see stuff like that. Unfortunately, you run into the danger of making Hunter very strong, but I'm sure
What do you think...
Sorry
to interrupt you. What do you think about like a Mistcaller Thaurissan combo where you play some card and it makes all of your beasts like 1 mana cheaper in your deck and in your hand?
Well, I see what you mean. You mean like a
new card. But it basically plays like Mistcaller and Thaurissan combined, where you play it and it reduces all of the beasts in your deck in your hand by 1.
I want that card so bad.
Like, that seems like a really cool way to handle it for me, because it's like
that was genius. I want that card. Unfortunately, it would kind of suck as a 6-drop though, because
you might have drawn a lot of your early beasts.
Matter at that point.
Yeah, maybe you could play it earlier or something. Like, it wouldn't be exactly Mistcaller, but something like that would be cool, since it's just affecting beasts instead of like every minion.
Well, because it's Hearthstone, it could be random. You give it, attach it to a joust and give it, and put it on like an early minion.
Yeah, I think that could be really neat. That could start helping you play. I saw some like hunters were running, what's it called? The Galzrilla. Like, do you think that's going to make a comeback? Galzrilla decks?
Probably not, because it's like, it's, I love that card. It's so close to being cool, but you can't charge it consistently. So it's an awkward finisher in the sense that you need to, like, the moment neutral, like some neutral card gets give a minion stealth, every single class just got so much cooler, like with fun combo stuff. Like if you could
give a minion charge,
Gazrilla, something like that, like stealthing Gazrilla. There's other minions that I'm thinking of that I can't seem to name, but there's a lot of things.
Antonitis. There are a lot that you want as finishers that they can just survive the one turn. Velen, Malagos.
This magical world where there's a neutral card that can give stealth is probably never going to happen because balancing reasons, but I'd love to see it because it would be fun.
Yeah, apparently those, right after like 170 new cards hit, we're going to spend the episode talking about cards we wish existed that don't. Because what better way to celebrate all of these new cards than like, okay, here's what they can do next.
But as far as your other cards, I actually think those other 2 cards are somewhere in between average and good.
Which
Maybe?
other two cards?
The other two cards you were talking about, the ones that you pulled, Ice Howl and Ronin.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, I think Ice Howl would fit very well in the Aviana decks. Because
yeah, that's a fair point.
you can just play Aviana and then, like, you can kind of run bigger minions in Aviana decks that usually suck because you can get away from playing them cheaper.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's interesting. I could see
It makes you kind of wish you could play Holy Wrath in that deck.
Right? That would be sweet.
Unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen, but I'm trying to think of a way it possibly could. When they one day introduced their cross-class decks, again, stuff the game doesn't currently have that it should.
No, here's what you do. You get your opponent to play Spellslinger, and then that's how you do that.
Yes. I mean, honestly, you're going to win most games if you get your opponent to play Spellslinger.
That's a good point.
Like, that's just a solid strategy all around. Just convince your opponent to play Spellslinger. You're good to go. So let's see. Anything else you've been playing on the ladder with your...
Well, I didn't get the chance to answer your question about what I pulled, so I'll go ahead and answer
That's right. I forgot about that. Go ahead.
In my first 50, the pre-order 50, I got a golden Wilfred Fizzlebang, which was like super exciting.
That's already more exciting than my haul, so keep going.
I pulled an Aviana.
Okay.
And an Anubarak.
They want you to play Control, Billy. They want you to play late game. Yes.
Very, very greedy decks. Blizzard wants me to play greedy decks, which is fine because I love playing greedy decks. It's a lot of fun.
This is true.
And then in my next 40, I opened up something else. I think it was like a second Anubarak. So I anyway, I pulled up a legendary that I already owned. And then I disenchanted that, and then disenchanted my Aviana, and made a golden Aviana. Because
Wait,
Aviana
seriously?
is awesome.
You're already crafting golden legend. You do this so differently than I do, Billy. I lack your courage.
You have to find the good cards and then turn them shiny.
But I don't know which are... Like, I don't know if any cards are good yet. Like, it's just
Aviana is confirmed good. I am confirming right now Aviana is good.
Have you played Aviana?
Yes.
How much?
Somewhere between, like, 20 and 40 amps.
Wow, you've been playing a lot more than me. Okay, so has it been consistently good?
Yeah. Like, you run it in just, like, a standard... Well, standard is not correct, but... a slight variation on a Ramp Druid.
Yeah, that's what I imagined, yes.
And between the new Darnassus Aspirant card and Aviana and just all the big creatures, it's a really strong deck. It's very weak to hyper aggressive decks. Standard decks like Zoo, you still stand a chance against. Because as long as you play it right, hold on to your Keeper of the Groves the moment when you need them and stuff like that. Tech in, mind control tech, stuff like that. There are ways to beat these decks. I'm at a pretty good win rate with it. I don't have my tracking program up. I would have to open it, and I'm lazy. But it's definitely above 50.
Huh, well, I've always somehow avoided Druid almost entirely in playing Hearthstone. So it intrigues me to finally go back to it. Granted, I totally don't have Aviana yet. But do you find that she gets removed, though? Because she's a 5/5. Like, do you have to play a taunt with her?
It doesn't matter. The deck runs so many things that synergize with her being played at the same time. So if you play her and Ragnaros at the same time, that's really good. If you play her and Kel'Thuzad at the same time, that's really good. If you play her and Ancient of War at the same time, that's really good. If you play her and Innovate and any other card in the entirety of the deck, it's just... Ugh, I love this card. The very first time I got to play it, I had like the dream hand, which hasn't happened since, which was at 10 mana, Aviana, Innovate, play Kel'Thuzad, play Ragnaros, play Dr. Boom, and then play Sonaris.
And then Brawl.
No, I did not get brawled. I forgot what I was versing. I was versing some...
That's amazing.
Mid-range deck, I think. Right? Light Bomb is the one scary thing. And also, like you said, Brawl.
Yeah. I think that's like... I mean, you've got like Twisting Nether, but...
Right. But everything else, like mostly every class, other than the two we just named, Warrior and Priest, which, by the way, I don't think Priest should be running Light Bomb anymore, but...
No, I'm not. Equality Consecrate. That's another dangerous one.
Well, even that doesn't really apply sometimes because you have situations like where, well, in that circumstance that I described, where you play all of your minions, sure. But most times with Aviana, you're only going to be able to play like 1, maybe 2 minions discounted, and then if they blow their equality consecrate to get rid of that, which is of course the instinct reaction, you're just going to play your
next
Sarah. One. Yeah, like you just play your next big dude. So
that's a really good point. I think that's. Do you run Ancestral Communion in that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
My objective is to make the good decks first, and then
so we agree. Decks. I couldn't remember your opinion on Ancestral Communion.
Oh no, I still think it's a really cool card.
Oh yeah, but it's not like competitive.
Well, I don't own it, so I can't test it. But
okay, I haven't tested. I should say my feeling is that it wouldn't be consistent enough for a deck like that. Though maybe putting it in like one of could do something. It can sometimes win you games outright. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, well, that's pretty neat. For me, it's been mostly... oh, wait, was that your full haul? Did we get through all of it?
Yeah, we did. I do want to quickly mention, though, because this was like the highlight of my week. I pulled 2 Mogar's champions in the same pack, and both of them were golden. And I was very happy about it.
I got 2 Dreadsteeds in my original, which is pretty amazing.
I haven't gotten a Dreadsteed yet.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like one of the cards I was super excited about.
There was the game where I ran across that Dreadsteed Baron Rivendare deck, and he got 6 Dreadsteeds on the board, and I died eventually.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was so close to being able to do something, and then just, nope, Dreadsteeds. I mean, if you could imagine a board of 6 Dreadsteeds and then getting Mal'Ganis out, like...
Whoever you are, Dreadsteed Baron Rivendare guy, you are awesome.
I applaud you. That was a very neat idea all around, so yay for that. For myself... All right, so I started saying, here we go. What can we do with Turtle Warrior? Here's the thing about Turtle Warrior that I did not expect. The improvements he gets from these new cards is incredibly good against aggro. And not good against anything else. Or rather, I should say, not really great against mid-range and control. So, with everyone running incredibly greedy decks, and almost no one that I'm running into running aggro, it really didn't do anything that Control Warrior couldn't, because you're getting these early taunts, which is amazing. Like Face Hunter just stared down my Armor Smith and my taunted Armor Smith and 3-2, and later bolstered, what's that called, Sparring Partner, and just like couldn't do anything. And other aggro is definitely, I can see the potential to some of these taunt cards giving you that early game advantage, but in control matchups, you don't really need taunt. Like, especially low cost taunt. Like, that's not really a useful ability. And if you want a warrior that can like curve out in the early game and create a threat on its board, I think Dragon Warrior is much more efficient for that right now with stuff like Alex Strauss's Champion, that sort of thing. So Turtle Warrior, not quite the late game advantage I was thinking we'd have. Control Warrior kind of has that more, and most of the new taunt cards don't really fit into that kind of archetype, but I could see it being some of these cards being good techs for Warrior to do anti-aggro in the future.
What's interesting about Turtle Warrior is if it was an effective anti-aggro deck, which I'm not sure if it is because I haven't played it.
Right.
I would imagine that Priest just does a better job of that.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, Priest is
especially
kind of
because
amazing.
Priest, because it can run Thought Steal and stuff. It can beat out control decks as well as being heavily anti-aggro. So.
And there's a way that you can combine it. Like, as I said beforehand, I don't think that Taunt Warrior is going to be like all taunt cards. Like, that's fun. But the actual assumption I had for Turtle Warrior was like Warrior with just some more longevity between Justicar and a couple of these cards. And that, as people tweak Control Warrior, that still may be the direction that deck goes in general. But it'll be interesting to see how much Dragon Warrior, if that ends up kind of taking away from Control Warrior, in which case most of those taunt cards I was thinking about might not have room in a deck that's trying to run Control Warrior stuff and Dragon Warrior stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if the Dragon Warrior really takes off. I played a few games with that. It seems really neat. I was actually a big fan of Dragon Warrior until I then tried Dragon Priest and said, this is way cooler, Dragon Warrior. You're lame, because Dragon Priest is awesome.
I kind of wish I pulled a chill more, because I haven't gotten the chance to play a Dragon deck. I'm kind of waiting until I pull a Chillmaw.
Sure, that makes sense. I decided to go for it without Chillmaw and just substitute in, I think, Sylvanas or something else. I don't remember quite what the substitute was. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, I've won 4 out of the 5 games I've played with it so far, so I haven't played a ton yet. But, like, it's a priest that can just ramp up through the whole game with a very threatening board, but then also have a lot of the options you're used to with priest. And it absolutely destroys aggro from what I've run across with Hunter. Like, Hunter, I faced a phased Hunter that could do almost nothing against me. Then I faced a mid-range Hunter that literally didn't do any damage to me the entire game until the last turn, where hero powered, because I had so much taunt up and so many answers to his board. So I'm actually super impressed with Dragon Priest so far. Apparently that's making big waves in people streaming decks and stuff right now. But again, everyone's just experimenting, so there may be a completely different fad tomorrow. But it's fun. But yeah, so now we're going to be jumping back into our normal format for the show, since there are no new cards to talk about, and apparently we should start just creating our own cards for every show and create like 10 of our own cards to talk about, because we do that throughout the show anyway. But we decided to head back to our old format of each of us bringing a strategic topic of discussion to go over and see what we can learn from. And mine this week is about information overload. And the idea that with a new expansion like this, there is just so much information at once. There are all these new cards. You're trying them out. There are like, a billion different people streaming, a billion different people creating decks, a billion different things in the meta, and that are being talked about, and different deck lists being tried. So like, what for you, Billy, how do you go about like absorbing all of this information? Like, do you just completely focus on your own creations? Do you try to like watch certain streamers you really trust? Do you go to deck lists and just try a few games of everything? Like, what is your preferred method of dealing with like all of this stuff hitting all at once?
Well, my preferred method is to just ignore it, but that's just because I like the experience of deck building. Now, if you're a person, my advice to people who can't deal with this information overload is to also ignore it, but in a different way. Don't ignore it and make your own decks. Ignore it and make old decks, and take out, if you feel like it, take out cards and put the new ones in where you feel appropriate. But try not to tweak too much, because that usually leads to mistakes. Now, if you're a player who doesn't feel comfortable with this information overload, just wait. Play whatever deck you feel like you enjoyed last expansion, and then just like mess around with it a little bit. And once the dust has settled, once we've all been like, all right, this card doesn't work, this card is good, that's when you can start listening to the information.
Once the dust has settled, you can use all of that dust to craft all of the good cards.
Right?
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. I think like unless you're a person who shapes the meta, as in being one of these very high level players who spend so much time in the game that you're and has a big enough audience that you're like shaping the meta out there, it is somewhat like, except for the fun side of it, it can be somewhat an exercise in futility to try to keep up with what's happening on a day-to-day basis, because so much is changing at all times. I mean, you could still have fun with it if you're enjoying it. But
yeah, if you don't care about your rank, if you're going for the maximum level of fun, then I recommend 2 Lowly Squares in every deck.
Have you been running Lowly Squares in decks?
I've been running it in Hobgoblin Paladin, yes.
Nice. That's not every deck though, or is it?
No, it's not every deck.
I like the idea that your deck slots are just all different variations of Hobgoblin Paladin. All 9.
Unfortunately, only one deck slot is being occupied by Hobgoblin Paladin.
I currently have Hobgoblin Paladin as a deck slot, so you're not alone. I used your list and have it in there, but I haven't really played it yet.
It's a good list.
Yeah. What?
I said it's a good list.
Yeah, I think it has potential to be fun.
No, it's good. Trust.
I could get to Legend with that deck if I took the time to learn it properly.
At some point, I'm going to sit down and play a game with you with that deck, and I'm gonna assist you.
Teach me the ways of Hobgoblin. Absolutely. I guess I'm just confused. Like, what do you do through the early game in a Hobgoblin deck? Because you're kind of saving for that combo turn, but that combo turn requires so many cards.
Not
you just
once
like
will you ever hold on to a card.
Not okay. So you're just
besides Wisp. Wisp is the one card you save for the combo.
Right. So you're just playing everything, then you're cult mastering to refill your hand, and if you happen to get a Hobgoblin turn,
essentially just play it on curve. However, if you have the option between a 1-attack minion and like a normal minion, play the normal minion and try to hold on to it. But like don't don't just pass because you have a 1 attack dude.
See, I prefer my method of playing Bolvar, but making sure I play no minions so that I can Hobgoblin synergize Bolvar. so I play literally nothing until turn 8. But that turn 8, I'm going to have a sweet, 3/9?
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. That's interesting. So when you say play on curve, would I play Hobgoblin on turn 3?
No.
Okay. So that's
Hobgoblin's another card that you're holding on for the combo. But if you have Hobgoblin, you probably have the combo because there's so many cards in the deck which synergize with the combo.
But I could play, for example, Hobgoblin Wisp on turn 3 and be okay.
Yes, you could. I would definitely recommend that play.
Okay, I'm excited to try that. But yeah, for me, it's been interesting kind of trying to find my place in this new meta because I'm not a big deck builder. I find it kind of fun to do, especially when we institute creative rules or fun rules. But in terms of like playing competitively on ladder, I don't have a lot of experience in the area, so I don't have a lot of faith in my decks. So I've been a little curious about like, well, what do I do? Because at first, when it all started, I'm like, I am so close to Legend. I should make a push for Legend. Those hopes have since been dashed since my Zulok once again completely petered out at rank 3. So I've been kind of lost, like, well, what do I do with myself now? Like, do I just create goofy decks? Do I try to keep up with what people are doing and try to play all of these new decks that people are coming out with? But the new decks are coming out at such a high rate that I'm not quite sure like where to go with that. So it's been interesting, like trying to find out how to navigate this extremely busy meta. While also trying to kind of learn new stuff. So I've taken recently, at least, to just playing a few different deck lists and kind of getting a feel for the new cards through those new deck lists. But I might also go back to just creating fun stuff. We shall see with time. What has been your favorite fun deck you've created so far, Billy?
Well, my favorite deck would have to be the Druid deck, just because it's a lot of fun. But as far as like objectively making a fun deck, it's probably my Control Rogue that I made.
Really?
It's just a lot of fun. I really do enjoy that deck.
All right. Well, that kind of leads us into your topic pretty nicely, Billy.
Indeed. I decided that this week I wanted to talk about underrated cards, specifically cards that were in the Grand Tournament that we thought weren't going to be very good, that we've actually kind of start to see the side that Blizzard must have seen when they were making the card. And for me, that has been a Nubarak. Now,
yes!
I'm not claiming a Nubarak as a good card.
Dang it.
Because it's not. However, it's a lot better than I thought it was. I thought it was absolute unplayable, but it was one of the cards I pulled, and I decided to try it out.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm running a very control-focused rogue deck. It's very, very slow. It is running one zombie char right now, but it's like focusing on weapon board control in the early game with deadly poisons, stuff like that. It's also running a Perdition's Blade because that synergizes with taking out aggro decks with like pinging one thing for 3 and then using 2 damage. Pinging one thing for 1, then dealing 2 damage with the weapon and stuff like that. So very focused on early board control with weapons and then curving out into big dragon stuff. And Anubarak happens to be in that deck, and I was like,
oh, it is dragon?
Yes, it's dragon-focused with... Oh. Unfortunately, I only have one, what's that taunt dragon card? Guardian
Yep, same
something.
here. I run a Twilight Drake, typically.
Yeah, I run a... what do I run? I run a Hungry Dragon instead.
Oh, okay.
Because I can backstab and do things to the 1/1, or the 1-drop. But,
So this is fulfilling your dream. You wanted a dragon deck with Blackrock, if I remember correctly. Dragon Rogue was like your excited deck for that whole expansion, so now your dream is seeing its fruition.
Well, exactly, but it's kind of different than I imagined. It's much less focused on spells. I thought there were going to be more spells in the deck, but I've been able to cut down my only spells to be like removal, which is eviscerate, which can be used to finish out the game, of course, and things like backstab and etc. But the most interesting thing about the deck has been playing with Anubarak. I wanted a big dragon in the deck, and obviously I didn't want a 9-drop, because then that would be contesting with my Anubarak, and then, what do I do? I decided the Deathwing is awesome, because if you have Anubarak on board...
Oh my gosh.
People usually ignore it, because they're like, oh no, the 4/4 is going to pop out, so let's just ignore this and either go face or play a taunt or something. And usually it's Sludge Belcher, so you attack into your Sludge Belcher, Your dude still has 1 health. You play Deathwing. You get your 4/4. The rest of your hand goes away, but that's okay, because now you drew in a Nubarak.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. That's such a good synergy.
Right?
Like, that's so cool. You get a board clear, you get a Nubarak back, which is basically infinite turn 10s or turn 9s to play something really good. You get your 4/4 on the board, and you get a 12/12 dragon. Oh, that's so cool.
So the annoying thing about Deathwing in the past is that you would play this big card, and then you had to rely on your next card being a big card, because if it wasn't, your turn 10 or your turn 11 now is going to be very slow. Or not very impactful. Now you can play in a Nubarak. And then you can play a Nubarak again. And then again. It's very fun.
I love it. That is so good. So has that combo actually worked out for you yet? Like, have you been able to pull that
multiple times? It's cool, because people just... They see a Nubarak and they're just like, all right then, I don't really know how to deal with this because I don't have silence. I did play a game with Aiden, who I've spoken about before. Yes. And he had the dream scenario where after my Nubarak combo, he big game hunted my Deathwing, and I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate. And it was very early, like it was as early as the Deathwing combo could have happened. So it was on curve on turn 10. Still had a lot of cards left in his deck. And he big game hunted it, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. I still have an Nubarak. It's going to be fine. I used my 4/4 left over from the first Nubarak to kill the big game hunter. I play a Nubarak again, and then he had Silence True Silver Champion. And I'm like, all right, it's over.
Nubarak is what, 8/4?
Yes, it's an 8/4.
Man, that 8 damage is crazy, though.
It is. It's good. I like the card.
I'm excited about that. I remember when a Nubarak was announced, I had like this completely unfounded admiration for the card. Like, I'm like, I don't know why I think it's good, but it's good.
By the way,
want this card to be
in that rogue deck, I've been playing Burgle.
Yes.
Love that card. Burgle is even better than I thought it was going to be, and I loved the idea of Burgle. Like, in that same game that I was telling you about with Aiden plays a lot of Paladin. I played Burgle against Aiden, and he played Tyrion, and I'm like, what do I do? And I wasn't really looking at the cards I got from Burgle because I was kind of distracted. I was doing other stuff at the same time. I look back at my hand, and I was on curve on turn 9. I had Aldor Peacekeeper and Enter the Colosseum. So I Aldor his Tyrion, and then play Enter the Colosseum, destroying his Tyrion. And then next turn, Harrison Jones, the Ashbringer. It was awesome.
That's amazing. Wow. Burgle. You heard it here. Burgle is the best card in the game now, apparently.
No, but it's actually really cool, because in the circumstance where it doesn't give you, like, a wombo combo or anything crazy like that, it's probably, if it gives you, like, a trash card, it's, like, fine, because, like, you're drawing 2 of them, so it's very rare that both of the cards are going to be bad. Right. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like Burgle's very underrated. More people need to try Burgle.
Well, why do you think Burgle's really good, but, like, for example, Arcane Intellect doesn't run in too many different mage decks? Do you think there's an advantage to Burgle that Arcane Intellect doesn't have? I mean, is it helpful for, like, mill, or...?
That's kind of an interesting concept. I think that Arcane Intellect is only run in specific decks, and it's run in the same type of deck that I'm picturing Burgle in. So the argument is hard to defend because I agree with your argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, you're saying, yes, it has the same application as Arcane Intellect, which is like you're not going to run it in a super fast tempo deck, but in something where you need that bit more fuel, it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, I'm happy to hear about that. I know I was a doubter of Burgle early on, but do you run Sprint in that as well?
No.
Interesting. So Burgle is basically your card draw.
I'm also running Acolyte of Pain, which is interesting because it has cool synergy with Hungry Dragon, because you can play on curve Acolyte of Pain, play the Hungry Dragon. Now your Acolyte of Pain attacks it to the 1-drop. Usually it will still survive and have killed the 1-drop and still get another card draw. So Acolyte is often draw 2 cards in that deck, which I think is justifiable.
Yeah, if you can draw 2 from Acolyte, it's pretty good. I worry about playing Acolyte in anything where I can't trigger it myself somehow, but I mean, that's at least close to a trigger on it, so if you have that card.
Plus, usually you have control of the board, so like Acolyte on a board that you're already controlling is pretty good.
So a card for me that at least anecdotally, has been exceedingly powerful, but I think can be countered if it actually makes it into the meta and people start countering it, is Mysterious Challenger. And at the game night last night, Ian was running a Paladin deck, which had Mysterious Challenger in it. And it was just doing work because he is running like this pretty low cost, very aggressive Paladin deck with stuff like Competitive Spirit and the different secrets. So he could get typically a pretty good strong opening and stuff like Muster for Battle, Knife Juggler, that sort of stuff. So he got this board up, was doing a lot of damage, but then his late game would be insane when he'd play Mysterious Challenger and just 4 secrets would pop up. And even if people dealt with them with, pretty good, getting rid of them, with 1 or 2 cards or something like that, it's still just getting a 6/6 and all of those different abilities at once just like sustained him in a game. And then typically he'd play Tyrion after that. And it was just like that deck was just wrecking people again and again, which I did not expect Mysterious Challenger to put up such a challenge to people. Have you run across it at all yet, Billy?
I have faced Mysterious Challenger once.
Okay.
It's I don't know what to think of the card, really.
Yeah.
That story you told was very cool, and I hope that that's the case for Mysterious Challenger because I like the concept of the card. But what happened for me, and I guess this is like perfect case scenario, but the time where I versed it, he played it and he got out all of his secrets. I think there were 4 or 5. It must have been
4. 4 is the max, I believe.
Okay, then, yeah, it must have been 4.
Maybe 5.
The first one was Noble Sacrifice into Avenge, so that popped. The guy became like an 8, whatever. And then I big game hunted it, so it returned with 1 health because of the other thing, the other secret. I used my Silverhand Recruit, which was on board, to kill it. And then what's the other secret? Oh, and then of course like the big game hunter got put on 1 health because of the other secret. So like I dealt with all the secrets and the minion on the same turn with 3 mana. So
I mean that's like dream reaction. But it does it illustrates a point, which is like Mysterious Challenger's effect isn't necessarily amazing, and it can be amazing, but for this potential amazingness, you're running a lot of subpar cards in your deck. Cards that you could draw and be stuck with. So that's why I didn't think Secret Paladin would be a thing. And I'm surprised. I have some friends who are like in Legend playing, and it's like they're seeing it all over. And it's like the new Face Hunter up in the higher ranks or something.
Really?
It's just crazy, and he's having to find ways to counter it. And of course, it's just anecdotal. But if it becomes I did not expect it at all to be like a thing that's out there that you need to think about countering. So it's intriguing. Crazy. It's intriguing to me. So that's one. What's another card for you, Billy, that's just like been surprising?
Something that, are we going specifically for underrated, or are we going for cards that kind of have the opposite of intended? Because Thunderbluff Valiant is a card that
we can go with either.
Okay. Thunderbluff Valiant is a card I think was incredibly overrated when people were reviewing the card.
Right.
I believe on our show when I reviewed it, I said
you didn't like it.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't like it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how right I was. I don't like the card for the exact same reasons I felt then. It's very strange. People are claiming it's like a quartermaster, and I'm like, you play totems a lot less than you do dudes. Yeah. Also, you don't have Muster for Battle, and Muster for Battle is a pretty good card.
Yeah,
there needs to be like a 4-cost, maybe even like a 5-cost Shaman card that puts like 3 totems on the board.
Yeah, I think one difficulty with Thunderbluff Valiant is that it doesn't create many more board control for you. Like some of the really scary cards can be stuff like that, weirdly enough, that Murloc and Paladin, because so long as you leave the Murloc Knight on the board, every time he's hero powering, he's getting a bigger and bigger board.
Yeah.
But with Valiant, you're still just getting the 1 totem. It doesn't have charge or anything.
That's another card I've been really impressed with, the Murloc Knight.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I haven't versed it. I mean, I haven't played it, but I have versed it, and it's so crazy. The guy I versed got the dream where he like Murloc Knighted hero powered on the same turn, and I'm like, alright then, I guess I can't deal with this Murloc Knight, but don't worry, I'll just kill the little Murloc, and then I'll deal with the Murloc Knight next turn, it'll be fine. And then he just like went off with hero powers, and he got like double Murloc Knight, and
yeah. It's actually a really neat deck. I could see like a Garrison Commander being run in that. So then like turn 6, you Garrison Commander, hero power, and it's just like, oh my gosh. How do I deal with this?
I've seen a list I don't remember whose list it was, but it was fairly interesting. I was running like Echoing Oozes and stuff, and the idea was to not use that with like Blessing of Kings or anything like that, but just to get more minions on the board so that you could play Sea Giant and stuff. So it was the idea of flooding the board with cards like Murloc Knight, Echoing Ooze, all of these things that are going to stick to the board, and then just throw down a Sea Giant, and that was a really interesting concept to me.
But yeah, going back to I do like that concept, but going back to the Thunderbluff Valiant, I think it goes back to what makes that concept difficult is that card itself isn't creating board advantage. It's not creating more stuff for you. So just buffing your totems, you're not always going to have that many. Granted, it can snowball, but I feel like that's the kind of card. It reminds me of why I don't like Bloodlust, which is that you're snowballing, but you're probably already winning in that case, which is the difficulty with it, which is like, if you already have a ton of totems on the board and stuff, you're probably in a pretty good spot as Shaman. So I'm not sure it's needed. So yeah, I guess we'll see. Again, I have no actual experience facing or playing Shaman almost at all since this is released. So, but I can definitely see the theory behind why that card would be underperforming right now.
Something else I've been really interested in is Fist of Jaraxxus.
Okay, is there any reason?
when I saw that card, I thought it was terrible, and I'm
Me too.
Still underneath the impression that it's somewhere in between like average and bad. But I've been playing it a little bit just out of curiosity. Yeah, and I was trying to run like a classic zoo style, so something where I'm trying to unload my hand very, very quickly. That way I can on curve Doomguard with no downside.
Sure.
And if you're running a deck like that, it actually pretty consistently can happen. Like the 4 damage from Fist of Jaraxxus. I'm also running Soulfires, so that also increases the chances of this happening. I found that in the case that it does happen, it's very rarely that good. So even it just I don't know.
I don't
it's
like
a
Fist of
strange
Jaraxxus
card.
at all.
It's better than I thought it would be, but it's still not very good.
It's an effect that is basically just flame cannon and if I sometimes cut flame cannon from my mage decks just because I prefer to play other stuff. If you're asking me to play subpar, like discardy cards that I wouldn't otherwise want to play to get a potential flame cannon effect, it's like, no, I don't care.
That's a bit different because with this type of deck where you want to be running Fist of Jaraxxus is already running cards like Soulfire and cards like Doomguard. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I
just
like
because
Soulfire,
of the bonus. Though. Well, you're right, but in this type
that's what
of
I'm saying.
No. You're right. I don't like Soulfire as a card either, but in this type of deck, you want that card because it's dealing 4 damage, and damage is important to you. So if you're dealing 4 damage plus another 4 damage, it's really, really good. Yeah. So it's just a question of like, how consistent is it, and how often is that 4 damage impactful? If that 4 damage was always to face or always to a minion, either one of those things, it would be really good. But the fact that it's random is just very, very crippling for the card.
Yeah. I mean, I could see a really interesting, like, discard Warlock that relied on, like, top decking all the time. So, like, you could top deck stuff like Dark Bargain and just destroy 2 random enemy minions, then tap and see what you get. Because Warlock has the potential that if they're in the late game without a hand, they can be tapping turns that they want to be getting more cards. So, like...
I was also trying Dark Bargain in the same deck. Dark Bargain is... Dark Bargain is so strange to me. I love the card design. I think the card is really cool. Yeah. It has a very negative downside. I actually think the kill 2 enemy minions is kind of a downside because if the opponent plays like a single Tyrion, right? You can't deal with it because you cannot play Dark Bargain on just 1 minion. And
this is why turn 10,
that's pretty
Hungry
crippling.
Dragon, Dark Bargain.
Yep. That's the combo.
Yeah, but, there's a lot of interesting stuff in Warlock. I'm a little disappointed because I find almost none of the cards apply well to Zoolock, which is what I played a ton.
Wrathguard.
I don't like Wrathguard and Zoolock at all. Yet.
I disagree with you. I think that's a good card.
Because Wrathguard is bad to top deck, and I find on turn 2, I'm typically wanting to play something stickier in Zoolock, like a Haunted Creeper is amazing on turn 2, and often... Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't, like, every single one of your cards a bad top deck, though, in Zoo?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Or every single 2-drop in your entire deck is a bad top deck.
It depends what kind of board you have. Like Dire Wolf can be really good depending on what you have on the board late in the game. Knife Juggler can be really good if you have something like as a top deck.
I would argue that like both of those cards aren't really 2-drops. Well, Knife Juggler is a 2-drop, but I would argue that Dire Wolf Alpha is not actually a 2-drop because it's very
That's
rare
a fair
that you play
point.
it on
If you're talking 2-drop stuff like Haunted Creeper, Nerubian Egg, Knife Juggler are not necessarily great to top deck, but Wrathguard is even worse because you could play it and it could lose you the game. Which is a bit worse.
I don't know. We talked about it when we were reviewing it, right? Like in the case where playing Wrathguard loses you the game because of its effect, you're probably going to lose that game anyway.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
might have
to me.
it might have a role in Zulok, but I can't even find a 2-drop I would want to cut for it because like all the other 2-drops have so much
Eggs.
more.
I don't like eggs.
Oh, I disagree with you a lot on that.
I've never liked egg.
Is it because it's situational?
That, and it's like forcing you to. It's strange. It forces you to run like other situational cards, right? So like Dark Iron Dwarf, Abusive Sergeant. Although I do like Dark Iron Dwarf.
Right.
Love that card.
I disagree with that because you've got Power Overwhelming, you've got Direwolf Alpha,
I don't like running Power Overwhelming.
Oh, really? I highly disagree with that. And Zulok has won me almost
it.
as many games as any other card.
Because that also forces you to run cards like Void Cola and Shadow
my gosh, Void
Flame.
Caller is the best thing in Zoo. Okay, we're just playing different Zuloks.
Yeah, we're playing very different Zuloks.
I'm playing mid-range Demon Zoo, and you're talking classic Zoo. So yeah, I disagree with like everything you said, but I think we're talking about different decks. So that might explain why.
That being said, we're talking about the same archetype in a way. But I would just prefer it to be. I think that Zoo belongs in the style that I'm imagining, and the style that you're imagining shouldn't even be called Zoo because that's what I don't like about it.
Really
Everyone
Zoo.
calls it like mid-range Zoo, and I'm like, why can't this just be called mid-range Warlock? Like I don't understand.
I think just because it carried over so many of the cards from Zoo, but you're right in that it is not just flooding the board with the cheap cards, which is what originally gave Zoo its name. It's like. Yeah, it's running a pretty consistent curve through the whole deck, which is probably one reason I really enjoy it. I enjoyed mid-range Paladin as well, which you didn't.
I started liking it. I didn't like it at first, but...
okay. That's cool.
I don't know.
But yeah, I find this deck really cool, but Wrathguard I had trouble fitting in, because like every time I drew it, I'm like, I do not want this card in my hand. It just doesn't work on the board for what I'm trying to do. So... Yeah, not a fan of that card yet, and none of the other cards.
It's possible that you were running into a lot of Totem Golem, because a lot of people at the start of the expansion were running Totem Golem, which, by the way, I'm not running into much Shaman anymore.
I'm not running into Shaman at all in the high ranks yet. Grave, what is it? Is it? Yeah, you're right, it is Totem Golem, but I think Wrathguard would actually be pretty good against that, because you could actually have a minion that removes it. But,
well, sure, but like, with Wrathguard, you want to be attacking face or like letting it live.
True.
You know what I mean? Like you want to be trading efficiently with it or be killing face rather than minions.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But yeah, all the other cards, you got Tiny Knight of Evil, Demon Fuse, Dreadsteed, Dark Bargain, Void Crusher, like none of these fit Zoo, even though they are cool. So it'll be, or whatever you want to call mid-range Warlock.
It's interesting that they added a bunch of discard cards to Warlock, because I want a discard Hunter to be a thing. Yeah, not discard Warlock, because like discard Warlock is interesting and all, but the hero power is kind of anti-synergy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it draws you cards, and in a way that's kind of synergy, but also kind of anti-synergy. So it's very strange. I think the Hunter hero power is much better suited for it, because you can deal damage on any turn depending on like whatever you're doing. So I don't know. I prefer. If anyone hears this, please stop building Warlock discard decks. Discard cards. I want Hunter discard cards because of all the
Warlock
if your
discard
hand is
cards
empty.
Make sense for a couple reasons. One, like the flavor of it matches Warlock so well, which is paying a price for what you're doing, that they could use health for that more often. But I think secondly, the thing I mentioned before, which is like the nice thing about Warlock is you discard your hand, and then you can actually keep playing the game because you can refill it with life tap. While Hunter, it's like, well, this is it. Unless I have card draw cards, I am literally going to be top decking the rest of this game. But Warlock, you can play something like Dark Bargain, run out of a hand, and then say, okay, time to keep drawing more cards. And I think that's what lets them get more out of it.
The idea that I'm imagining from like a discard Hunter is like new cards being added where the cards are the discard effect, well, not the discard effect, but if this is the last card on your hand effect, makes the card strong enough on curve that it makes up for the fact that you have card disadvantage. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm not saying that's not viable. I'm just saying I think the reason the Warlock's power can be synergistic is because it's giving you that option again that you wouldn't have in anything else.
Sure.
So I can see how it works with it, but I'm with you. I don't like running the only discard cards I like running in Warlock are ones that you're either finishing with, like Doomguard, or ones again like Doomguard that you can get out of Void Caller and thus not be having to pay the penalty. But any other case, and I don't really like running them. So like Succubus or anything like that, absolutely not. So yeah, any other cards strike you as surprising from this? I think one for me is in Priest. For some reason, I just didn't even really pay attention to this card when it was announced, and I don't really know why, but the Wormrest Agent.
Your issue there was that they announced it in the big bundle of everything, so it was hard to keep track of all of those cards.
It's so good. It's
really?
Insane, especially against aggro. Like having a turn 2 on Priest that's 2/4 with Taunt that you can then be healing. It's incredible. That card is so good for my limited use with it.
I don't know. I haven't played against it, nor have I played it. My only Priest experience so far in the expansion has been playing with a anti-aggro Priest with Cavalcade, what are they called? Injured Cavalcades, which, by the way, are awesome.
I just don't see a need for that, because Dragon Priest just deals with aggro so well as mid-game and other things, so...
I haven't seen the Dragon Priest list, so I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what do you not like about Wormrest Agent?
I don't know. I just don't know how good a 2/4 taunt is. But obviously it's really good. But I don't know. I haven't played with it yet, so it's... Yeah. I may as well just be reviewing the card from before it was announced, because...
You haven't seen it yet. That's a good point.
Versus me, or I haven't played it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was surprising for me as well. Just thinking back on it, I can see why it really fits into Priest, and it's something they didn't really have before, especially because a 2/4 taunt can protect your 1-drop, which will typically... Like, if you can drop I can't think of the name all of a sudden. The thing that lets you draw cards.
Northshire Cleric.
Northshire Cleric. I wanted to say Maiden of the Lake, and I'm like, that is definitely not correct.
No, that's the new card, Bryan.
Yes, that is the new card. So if you drop that on turn 1, and then get a Wormrest Agent in front of it, and then you're healing your Wormrest Agent while that thing's just chilling back there, it's like you're getting such an advantage early game.
See, what you're describing to me sounds just as situational as the situations I was presenting you with injured Cavalcade. And you were like, that doesn't sound consistent because it's a 2-card combo. And then I presented 3 other combos which work with the card, and you were like...
Well, here's my difference, Billy, is 2 for 2/4 taunt is pretty consistently what you're getting from Wormrest Agent. Everything else on that is gravy. With the other thing, you're getting a 2/1. You better hope you have other stuff to do to it.
Well, no, because healing it makes it a zombie chow.
Yeah, but you have to heal it, which means it's more of a 3-drop in which those stats get much...
I'm just saying my difference.
That's why I don't think it's comparative.
Healing the injured Caval isn't so much as a bad turn 2, because it's very rare that you want to play anything on turn 2 as a priest anyway.
I know. Obviously, I'm not saying it's a bad turn 2, but it can be removed by a bunch of pings, which almost all classes have. So, or not almost all, 3 classes. That's not nearly almost all. But
they can't
have other things that can remove
They can't ping unless they want to coin ping.
Yeah. Fair point. I'm not saying Cavaldir is bad. I'm just saying that one doesn't necessitate the other. They're different. One other card that surprised me, because again, I didn't even notice it, was Buccaneer.
It's
actually
cool
kind of a cool card.
Yeah.
And I should probably be saying what these do for, people who aren't just used to all the cards yet. But Buccaneer is a rogue card, 1 cost, 2 attack, 1 health, pirate. Whenever you equip a weapon, give it +1 attack. I literally didn't notice that card when it came out. I'm like, pirate, who cares? But it actually has a really cool effect for rogue, because every time you equip your dagger, it's going to be a 2/2. Even if Buccaneer dies, you got a 2/2 dagger. That's really good.
Yeah, it's certainly a good effect. It's just an issue of what rogue deck wants it.
Yeah, it would have to be I feel like an aggressive tempo rogue deck.
Yeah, I can see that.
But we'll see if one of those comes around. Undercity Valiant also works in an aggressive tempo rogue deck. So
love that card, by the way.
The combo deal 1 damage, 3/2 for 2. That's pretty good. I mean, if you coin it out, it's not. I mean, if your opponent plays a Leper Gnome and you coin out Undercity Valiant, you're good to go.
It's interesting. I love. I don't mean I'm like running it in any decks or anything, but it's a cool card. I love that card design.
It's pretty neat. It reminds me a little bit of a much better version of the Ironforge Rifleman.
Indeed.
And
another underrated card, in my opinion, is Flame Juggler. I think that card's really cool.
Where does it go?
Sorry?
Where does it go? Like, who would run it?
I was playing it in the zoo deck I was talking about, and it was working very well.
Interesting.
Because you run a lot of, like, underwhelming cards in the early game as zoo, like a Haunted Creeper. And sometimes, that doesn't kill a Knife Juggler. So you play a Haunted Creeper, they play a Knife Juggler, and you're like, oh, well, this is awkward. Oh, don't worry, I drew my Flame Juggler. Flame Juggler hits the Knife Juggler, kill it. And it's like, if your opponent plays like at an aggressive start, you can have like a 66% chance to hit something that's useful. So like that's better than... Yeah, that's really good. I like it.
Yeah, I can see that. There's some potential there. For me, Zoo, and this might be because, again, I'm running the more late game Zoo variety, but it's a very hard deck to fit more cards into. Like, I'm barely able to fit everything I want in it. So it's like the idea of that thing making the cut is tricky to me, but I definitely see the potential there. Yeah, that's cool. I haven't actually played that card at all yet. So
also,
Coliseum Manager, one of the best cards in the... No, really, what did you do with this card?
Coliseum Manager, the 2/4.
No, sorry, the 2/5 that you can return to your hand with Inspire.
Yeah, it's a weird card.
It enables combo for Rogue like repeatedly.
Right. So you're forcing your hero power, so you're destroying your weapon. So it's like,
yeah. I'm looking through here, seeing if there are any other cards that have just. King's Defender was interesting to play with for a little bit. I really liked having such a longevity on a weapon, but no.
So it turns out it's not that great, right?
Yeah, I never assumed King's Defender would be any good.
Right. I don't think anyone did.
No, unfortunately.
And the people that did definitely not picture it as like a taunt weapon. They pictured it as like another weapon for warrior to use for like face warrior.
Yeah, but between the my trying to do that climb for legend and the game night and then just kind of opening packs to get used to it, I haven't played with as many of the new cards as I wanted to yet. So it's like, I'm looking through here and I'm like, I don't know if that one's cool yet. I still need to play with it.
Right?
So yeah.
I feel the same. There's a lot of cards I haven't played with yet.
Yeah, like Recruiter, I haven't tried that. Mookless Champion, I haven't tried that. Refreshment Vendor, I haven't tried that.
I've seen people try Mookless Champion. I feel so sorry for them.
Like a Zoo would be an interesting place for it to fit if it could do its hero power when it came out.
Yeah.
4/3 on turn 5 is just going to die. I'm sorry.
Interesting. I just I was going to go do the same thing that you did. I was going to go look at the card list and be like, oh, this one was interesting, or this one I found overwhelming or underwhelming or whatever. And Hearthstone here has a pretty cool setup where you can submit what you pulled from your first 50 packs, and then they like do a stat thing, and the top 10 cards, most common cards pulled. The most common legendary was Ice Howl.
Ah, I knew it. I've seen people get that everywhere.
Most common epic was Elemental Destruction.
Oh, I didn't get that.
The most common was King Zellic.
Ah.
And the most common rare was Tiny Knight of Evil. And just behind Ice Howl was Sky Captain Crag.
I was seeing people open Ice Howl and Sky Captain Crag constantly.
I felt so bad for everyone. I didn't pull one bad well, you could argue that the cards I pulled were bad, but like they weren't unplayable.
They weren't boring, that's for sure.
Right? I want to pull Idis and Fiola. I haven't got the chance to play with them. Some dude got the dream on me today. He innovated out Fiola, and I'm like, okay, well, what? No, clearly he's going to be running like Mark of the Wild and stuff like that. But don't worry, that surely won't happen. He played Mark of the Wild on turn 2. So on turn 2, he had a 5/6 with Divine Shield, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, this game's going poorly. And then he got like the dream with Idis, and then Mark of the Wild Vat as well, and it was a painful game.
Oh man, that's actually kind of cool. I don't think that Druid is the best choice for those cards.
No, me neither.
Their buffs are few and far between and kind of expensive, but it's a cool idea. I like that idea. I think Priestess could, again, some Dragon Priests are running that. That's kind of neat, because Dragon Priests are also released right now. running Villain's Chosen, Power Word Shield, which are both excellent cards for those. So
I would love to see a deck list for that deck.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't imagine it.
You can't imagine it?
Yeah, I can't. I need to see the list.
It's probably because I'm so new at Priest that, like, I'm not looking at it and saying, how can they not run this thing? Because I never run Priest. Like, if I was looking at Warrior decks, I'm like, how can you cut this card? But with Priest, I'm like, this looks like a cool list. I don't even really care about what you took out of it because I never play Priest. So I'll just start with this and see how it does. And it's super fun so far. So, yeah, well, that should wrap up our TGT talk for new cards. Then what have you thought, like, just overall, Billy? How has this met your expectations of the TGT release? Like, what have you been thinking of it so far?
I am pleasantly surprised.
How so?
I was hearing like a lot of I've talked about this a lot. I have a lot of free time. I'm able to listen to everyone's reviews of the Grand Tournament, and I was kind of concerned going into it because at first I was like, yeah, these decks are going to be super slow, and I'm super excited about that because it's going to be a lot of fun. And a lot of people were saying, well, no, what's going to happen is you're going to see all these aggro decks, and they're going to beat all of the greedy decks. And granted, it's early on in the expansion, so it's hard to tell if any of this is true. But so far, what we've seen is the greedy decks have been winning more often. Yeah. So that makes me happy. And especially with the Druid deck I was playing, that's able to be extraordinarily greedy and win against control and aggro. So that in particular, the game has slowed down enough. Like, I'd be happy if this is how Hearthstone played.
I'm with you there so far. Like, again, going back to my anecdotal experiences, even that super greedy mage I ran with Ronin and stuff, like, survived for a little while. It was mostly losing to other control or something, but like, even that could survive just because the game seems to have, at least temporarily, while people try this stuff out, slow down. And even when I'm running against like super, what would you say, well-made patron or face hunter, I'm still running these new decks and can kind of just destroy them because of the new things that have come around, which is kind of cool to see. Stuff
have
like
you ran into one patron yet?
I have. I ran into patron with my Dragon Priest and destroyed him because I had spell power when I had my Holy Nova.
Oh, there you go. That'll do it.
And his whole patron turn is just wiped out. It was so much fun. But but it's just the slugfest I can get into between like two greedy decks are insanely fun. Like, I was playing this game with Dragon Priest against against a Dragon Warrior. And it was just going on and on and on. And I got to the point where I had Ysera, he had Ysera, and out of Ysera I got Dream. So I returned his Ysera to his hand. And on his next turn, he played Sylvanas. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? I'm going to take your Ysera. I got Dream again. I returned to Sylvanas to his hand. The next turn, he played Sylvanas. I got Dream again and returned to Sylvanas to his hand. I was at like 9 life, and he was at like 30 life and 12 armor. And I just kept healing myself every turn, returning his minion to his hand every turn, and kept building my board up with all these dragons because Dream is a 0-cost card. So I had all these taunt dragons and all this card draw going on, and finally I got to the point where he got board presence and Ysera awakened and killed us both at the same time.
Wow. So you could say you got the dream.
Yes! It was so much fun. And those are the kind of games that I was missing in Hearthstone that I wanted to see more.
Those games are the core of Hearthstone to me. Like, that's what I love. When that experience happens, when that exact scenario you just described happens, that's a fun time.
It's like such a marrying of like having to make the most strategic decisions with having like the most random elements happening at the same time. You're getting your Sarah cards, but you have all of these choices every turn on how you want to play it out. Like, that's so much more interesting than, super refined stuff that you're just going aggro a little bit faster than the other guy and pushing out those couple points of damage with very predictable plays. Like, yeah. I super hope we can see this continue in the future and we don't just see, oh shoot, Secret Paladin beats everything. Well, there goes our dreams. But yeah, I've been pretty happy with it so far. I had a very bad opening to it because I opened my cards and was okay with them. And then I'm like, well, I need to see if I can make that push to legend with Zulok. And I tried other cards and none of them were working in it. So I'm like, I guess I'll just go with my old Zulok. And proceeded to have the worst session of continuing to play, even though I knew I was on tilt, that I've probably had in months. And went from almost rank 2 to like mid rank 4.
Is it possible for you to have tilt? I didn't know that was a thing that you can achieve.
I rose to the occasion, Billy, and and somehow gave myself tilt anyway. And it was a terrible combination of feeling like I am wasting my time. Like, I have limited time to play Hearthstone, and I shouldn't have been playing it because I had something else to do, but I got in to play a few games and then just got addicted to playing them because I wanted to get to Legend and at least get to rank 2, because that would be my highest rank I've ever achieved. And through doing that, kept forcing myself to keep playing, ended up playing for 2 hours, a rank and a half worse than I started. And that made me very sad. It's like, I not only completely wasted my time, I wasted my time, had a bad time, and literally lost progress all at the same time. This feels horrible. And I didn't play with any of the new cards. So that was my terrible introduction. Then I'm like, what am I doing in Hearthstone? I need to reevaluate my life here and figure out what I actually want to have fun with in this game. And I started playing Dragon Priest and felt much better the next day.
You are always so calm, cool, and collected when playing Hearthstone. And I find this story to be impossible. But underneath the circumstance where this actually did happen, feels bad. It does. I definitely know that experience.
Yeah, so that wasn't fun, but I'm not going to let that happen again, hopefully. I need to stop when I lose 2 or 3 games in a row and not keep playing. I don't know what I was thinking. I was being very stupid, but it kind of made me sad for a little while with Hearthstone and saying, like, this is very troubling. What am I going to do with this game? And I think I'll worry less about ranking for now and enjoy these cards a little more. So I'm excited. Like I said, it's fun to see what people are coming out with, and hopefully I'll also experiment with some of my own decks. Maybe Turtle Warrior will be a thing, but I kind of doubt it. All right, that should about do it then for the show. We don't have listener topics this week because we didn't, with TGT, everyone seems too busy playing it, so we don't have any super relevant topics to talk about, and emails from before TGT released feel kind of out of date now. So everyone, definitely now that we're back to our original topic and can support listener topics, send us in anything you want to talk about strategically about this game. It's going to be a very interesting time going forward. So I'm really curious what you all are struggling with or want to get better at, etc., etc. Also, no iTunes reviews after our 2 from last week. People are taking a break again, too busy playing with all the new cards, I'm sure. We're not feeling personally offended by you guys. But if you do want to leave us an iTunes review, just look up Hearthaholics on iTunes and you will find us there. You can also email us your listener topics, as I was talking about before, at hearthaholics@gmail.com. And you can find us on Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook just by searching Hearthaholics. I got an interesting email in recently, Billy, from someone who had discovered the Whales Are Whales podcast through Hearthaholics and started listening to that, which I thought was pretty awesome. But he did have some trouble finding it because it's kind of an obscure podcast and it's not as out there as Hearthaholics is. Yes. I will make it clear for everyone. It is Whales Are Whales. So that is Whales, A-R-E, Whales is the name of the website and organization. So you can head over to whalesareWhales.com to find all of our shows there. All of the current podcasts we're running are going to be on the front page of that website. So you can find the Whales Are Whales podcast there. And what that basically is a coming together of everyone who creates projects for Whales Are Whales. That's myself, my brother, Billy, Andres, and other people we've worked with on podcasts before, all part of this network. So you can find the Whales Are Whales podcast, Hearthaholics, and more shows there at whalesareWhales.com. And yeah, that podcast is just all of us coming together and talking about really whatever we want and doing whatever we want. Because there's no real theme to the show. It's just a chance to get to know each other better and create what we find to be fun and interesting content. So check that out if you want to hear us kind of out of our element, as you will, and discussing something other than Hearthstone. And yeah, you can do it there at the Whales Are Whales podcast at whalesareWhales.com. And as I've said, we are a production of the Whales Are Whales network. And we also do a game night for the Angry Chicken. You can find us at the Angry Chicken subreddit /TAC podcast on Reddit. And you can find me personally on Twitter at Lord Meldor. That is Meldorr. And pretty much everything Whales Are Whales, you can find me there as well. What about you, Billy?
You can find me on twitter.com / oh, geez, I don't know anymore. We changed it. I think it's Fanatic Billy. Yes, in fact, it is Fanatic Billy. So, yeah, you can do that. Also, guys, seriously, the Whales Are Whales stuff is really awesome. Check it out. It's cool.
Sweet. Yes, we are going to have mini announcements there soon. We're like working on 2 or 3 different shows that we've been trying to launch for like 2 months, and things always get in the way. But we should be doing that this next month and have like 2 new shows going on. So check that out. Also, Billy, I realized, speaking of talking non-Hearthstone things, I forgot about our segment, the non-Hearthstone Minute, where we talk about something not Hearthstone for a minute. And you wanted to talk about your trip to the comic book store. So let's use that real quick before we close out. How was your trip to the comic book store?
I'm gonna cheat and not use that as my minute of non-Hearthstone talk.
Okay.
As much as I wanted to, I'll totally talk
Yes.
about that on Wales next week. But instead, I want to talk about Black Ops 3 beta and the fact that it's actually pretty cool for a Call of Duty game, considering I wasn't at all excited at all for a Call of Duty game, but I happened to get access to beta. I'm like, all right, let's do this thing. And it's pretty cool. I like
So you
it a
like
lot.
it? Did you end up playing with Cameron yet?
Cameron's having some issues. He's not able to get on the game for some reason. I believe it has something to do with the way his network is set up, and Black Ops 3 doesn't like that. But I'm sure that he'll eventually be able to get back on there. It was working for him at some point, so he should be able to get on it. But
So will Black Ops 3 get you back into Call of Duty?
Until the year is over, I would imagine, until next year is over, because I'm sure the next one won't be as good. But this one looks really good. I actually like the movement a lot, which is something that people were concerned about, and etc. But it's cool. At the very least, like the way I look at it is I'll enjoy they usually have a side mode in Treyarch games. They call it their zombie mode, and I've always enjoyed
I know that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really like that because I know a lot of friends who I met playing that mode, and that was actually where one of my original YouTube channels started. I did zombies content, so
that's cool.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I'm expecting right when it releases is when Overwatch will go into beta, so you're just going to be
I'll be torn between these
paralysis.
If that actually happened, like, first of all, they released at the worst time. Grand Tournament comes out, I want to play Grand Tournament, and it's just like beta, and I'm like, I'm so torn. I swear, if this happens, like Black Ops 3 comes out on November, insert date here, because I don't remember what the date is, but it's always in November.
Yep.
And then Overwatch is like, we're releasing the day after, come play beta. And I'm like, why do you do this to me?
Just multitask. Have 2 shooters going at once. It's got to be possible.
Right? That would actually be so difficult. Oh my.
That would be extreme. Especially 2 different shooters. So it's like, oh wait, this movement speed is different. This,
I can't run up walls on Overwatch.
Grenade is a different button. This is the worst.
Right? Well, on PC, I mean, you could just rebind everything.
That's true. You're right. You can make it pretty much the same.
Right?
You're right. All right. See, totally possible. Easy, in fact.
Easy.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into a shooter. Like, I thought I was going to get into Titanfall and then didn't.
It was cool, but I don't know what failed with Titanfall. I guess it was just too much stuff. Not enough stuff.
Yeah, when I first played Titanfall, I'm like, I had an awesome first 2 hours at this game. I bet people are going to run out of stuff really fast. And that's exactly what happened.
I think it would have benefited from a single player.
Yeah, I agree with you. It had a really cool impact. Like, this is awesome. And then it's like, well, I'm just doing this repeatedly. Jumping on mechs that first time was amazing. Now it just feels like kind of a shallow shooter. So I guess I'll go back to other things. So I liked it, though. It was cool. We should probably end the show. But if you want more stuff like that, check out the Wales and Wales podcast.
That was actually a really good sample for the Wales and Wales podcast, because that's very much like what we end up talking about, just games and other things.
You just let conversation flow where it will. It's super fun. You don't have to talk about these dumb cards and this darn Hearthstone thing that everyone seems so upset about.
Right?
And into. So anyway, that'll do it for this week. Thank you everyone for listening. Since Andres wasn't here to plug his stuff, I want to let you know the intro music is from Andres and his company Masseve Music, Masseve music.com. So if you want other awesome music like that, check that out. And then until next time, we're going to end with our flavor text of the week. And as we began with, Billy, that was the best offense is a good defense. Now, do you know what that's from?
I do not know what it's from, so I'm just gonna guess it's bolster.
Dang it!
Let the hunt begin.